Have you ever struggled with back pain or leg pain? I have too. And this is a video about how I found a way out. I struggled for years, and we've done a lot of research on what causes back pain. So I was a student at Indiana University, and they filmed a movie there called Breaking Away. It was a cute little movie about a bike race. They filmed it in the early 80s. And there was a scene in the movie where the main characters are jumping off of a cliff into a rock quarry. This is from the movie. And because the movie was filmed at Indiana University, it became a rite of passage to go out to the cliff and jump when you were a senior. So we went to the cliff as seniors, and we were going to jump. There was 5 of us. And I, being the smartest of the 5, decided I would jump first. And when you jump from 85 feet, which is how high the cliff is, so it's way up here, and it's all the way down here is the water. You can see there's somebody right here on his way down. Here's the shadow. He's on his way down. 85 feet. And when you jump from 85 feet, by the time you hit the water, you're going 65 miles an hour. And when you jump from that height, you want to go in the water very straight. And because I was the first to jump and I was a little overzealous, what happened is I jumped with my feet a little bit in front of me. I didn't land on my back, but I landed with my feet a little bit in front of me. What I did was I jammed my sacrum, this bone here, into my L5 vertebrae, and I damaged my disc a lot. But I was young. I was 21 years old. Now that you know what? The pain's going to go away. I never had a pain that didn't go away when I grew up, and I broke bones and played a lot of sports and things like that and got hurt a lot. But the pain always went away. So my thought was, I don't know what happened. Hurts a lot. My back hurts. My legs hurt. But it's going to go away. And it didn't go away. And my back pain got worse. So it got a little bit better in the beginning. Went from a 6 to a 3. And I felt pretty good. But I'd say 3, I mean, a scale of 1 to 10. 1 or 0 is no pain, 10 is really bad pain. And I damaged the disc. This is my MRI. A healthy disc should look like this. Okay, my disc is very, very, very thin, so it's degenerated. It was pushing out the back and pushing out the front, and it led to a herniated disc, bulging disc, degenerated disc. I had some stenosis and I had some sciatica with pain down my legs, and I actually had inflammation on the bone, which is called end plate, modic end plate change. So I had really sort of a combination of the absolute worst problems you can have for your back, and I didn't get better. I didn't get better with chiropractic. I didn't get better with physical therapy, and I had unlimited chiropractic, and my pain actually got worse. And it got to the point where my pain was so bad that an average day, the pain was an 8. Everything I did, it hurt. And I had physical therapy. I had all the chiropractic. I was taking medicine. Nothing was helping me. And it got to the point where the pain was so bad that I couldn't do my everyday activities. And this went on for 10 years. And this was the beginning of my sort of 30-year journey to solving back pain. So this started in 1988, and here we are in 2020. And I've been focused on back pain every day of my life. My back pain's gone. And this video is about me getting rid of my back pain, but also some of the scientific discoveries that we've made along the way to help solve my back pain. It wasn't going away for 10 years. I got depressed. I got very depressed. I couldn't do simple activities. And when your back pain when it doesn't go away, your whole world gets smaller. The things that you want to do, you don't do. Very often you end up doing nothing because you're like, oh, that's going to hurt, that's going to hurt, that's going to hurt. And you don't do anything. And I didn't take vacations. One time we were going to Florida, couldn't get out of bed. We ended up going, but for 3 days I was in bed in Florida. Simple activities. I just felt like I was going to break in half. Everything hurt. I got depressed. And I got to a point where the only option that was offered me, because nothing else was working, was surgery. I thought, you know what? It's not going to work. I'm not going to do the surgery. I don't want it. They were going to give me a fusion. When you have a disc that's degenerated like that, what they do is they fuse all the vertebrae together. They put metal rods and screws in the vertebrae and they hold everything together. I didn't want it. I said, I'm not going to have it. I decided I would go on a quest. And on this quest, I was going to meet with specialists. I was going to meet with specialists that were working with professional athletes. So if the professional athlete has unlimited resources, who are they seeing? And that's who I sought out. And when you have back pain that is an 8, I call this my BS meter. What does that mean? There's a lot of specialists, and they have their experience with how to solve problems. They may have done research, they may not have done research, but they have their procedures. And sometimes these experts would say, oh, you need to do this. This is what's best for you. And I would do it, and if it hurt, I stopped. If it felt better, I did more. So am I the most knowledgeable about back pain? I might be, only because of this. We do what we do because of this. If I didn't have this, we wouldn't do it. We would just do what everybody else is doing. And what everybody else is doing is not working because it didn't work for me. And we have found a way out. And we've done the research and we've identified what happens and we know why it works and why other treatments didn't work, more importantly. So this was my 30-year journey. Started in 1988, so it's really 32 years. Back pain every single day. It hurt. My pain was an 8. I wasn't living. I was depressed. I had no energy. When you have back pain that's an 8, you lose your energy. You lose your will, quite frankly. And this video is about hope. We know that there is a pathway out. And this is about the plan to get out. I wanted to live again. That was my goal. I wasn't living. There was no life. When your back pain's an 8 every day, you're not living. And if you're not depressed, you will be soon. They go hand in hand. Highest percentage of patients that have depression, back pain patients. So a little recap about what happens to the spine, so you know why what we identified is so very beneficial for your spine. Typical spine looks like this. The head's up here, the hips are down here. There's 24 vertebrae. In between the head and hips, the vertebrae are the bones. In between each bone, there's a disc. The disc allows for motion. So the disc is a lot like a jelly donut in the sense that the outside of the disc, there's a thick material. Inside the disc, there's a jelly-like substance. That jelly-like substance can move. It will move around a little bit. And what happens over time as a result of posture, movement habits, the way you twist, the way you bend, everyday activities, old injuries, is very often what happens is the nucleus will start to push out. So jelly donut, jelly's on the inside, thick material, the jelly can start to push. As it pushes out, what it does is it starts to overload the annulus. You develop inflammation in the annulus. That causes pain. That causes chronic pain. It also causes central sensitization, which means you're overreactive to pain, meaning your nervous system functions at a very high level and everything hurts. That's the inflammatory process inside the disc. But the inflammatory process also creates a weakness in the tissue. Chronic inflammation makes tissues weaker. Inflammation starts to cause a little tear of the annulus. The tearing of the annulus then starts to cause more pain. You can develop what's called a bulging disc. You can develop a herniated disc, and sometimes it can tear all the way through. So you can have back pain from the bulge, from the degenerated disc, which is where you start to lose the jelly, the jelly dries out. You can get the herniated disc, you can get the ruptured disc, but also you can develop a little bit of stenosis, which is a narrowing of the spinal canal. Now, this program that we've developed works for all these different conditions. And again, why? Because these are the problems I had. This was my only goal, is to solve my problem. And I was the guinea pig. If it hurt, I didn't do it. If it felt better, I did more of it. So I was the guinea pig. I was my guinea pig. Okay, in the beginning, this is how we developed part of this process. And then we took it to the next level while using MRIs. But what do we know? We know that the nucleus can start to push, and when it pushes, it can create that bulging of the herniated disc. And you can see that on an MRI. So we know what causes the pain. It's the disc. It's torn, it's breaking down, it's inflamed. That disc over time starts to cause the trouble. We've done 8 scientific studies, and it's through these studies that we've identified why you have back pain that doesn't go away, or why you tried other therapies and it didn't make you better, and or it made you worse. I hear this all the time. Oh, I went to go to the physical therapist and I got worse, or I got surgery and I got worse. Big study just came out. Very often for this kind of back pain, physical therapy and surgery makes you worse. There's more disabled people now than ever. The percentage has doubled of people on disability from back pain in the last 25 years. Why? Because the other treatments aren't working. Our lifestyle is getting in the way of our healing. So the first study we did was in 2007, and what we identified is we can get changes in the disc. We could actually increase the blood to flow into the disc, but at the same time, we could also eliminate herniated discs. At this point in time, I thought this is it. We discovered it. Didn't work for everybody. Worked for 65% of the patients. Major discovery, 65%, but it wasn't enough. Okay, I got better, but not everybody got better. So then what we did is we started analyzing MRIs. So the first study was all about the MRI. What did we find? We found that we could increase the flow of oxygen and nutrients into the disc. Major breakthrough. Certain postures, certain movements will increase the flow, and thereby very often eliminating the herniated disc. Didn't work for everybody, 65%. But that was the beginning. We started looking at the MRIs. We would do an MRI, a treatment, and an MRI. And then what we started doing was we started adding weight bearing. So most MRIs are done lying down. Then we started doing MRIs standing up. And we found that when you stand up, the disc would move. And very often this movement will indicate why you have the back pain. And then we started putting patients through motion MRIs. We call it the 3D MRI. We have you bend while we're doing the MRI. And what we found after 5,000 MRIs, study after study after study after study, sitting and looking at MRIs and identifying that there are very specific movement patterns that will cause the disc to get bigger and worse. So the bulge will get worse, the herniation will get worse, but there's also movement patterns that make the disc better. That was the major discovery. It was the result of this tear that would allow for the nucleus to push with motion. This was the major breakthrough. This was the first major breakthrough. We identified that the disc with motion under load can get worse, or it can get better. If you're doing activities that make it worse, you will get worse. That's why some patients get worse with very specific types of physical therapy, because they're doing the activity that makes it worse. Standard physical therapy is one size fits all for back pain. Do this set of exercises, you'll get better. Some of you will, some of you won't. It was because of this. This was our discovery. This is what we figured out with our motion analysis 3D MRIs. This is breakthrough number 1. And what we found, and we have patents on this procedure. We have very specific patents. But what we have found is if you have that motion pattern and you get the wrong exercises, you're going to get worse. But there are very specific exercises for those patterns. And this is what really was the major breakthrough. Okay? We've done this on 26,000 patients 500,000 times. We've done the analysis. I worked with Harvard. They have a program called value-based healthcare. Okay? And what they taught us was you measure the effect of every single procedure on the patient. And then you document it. And we started this process. And we call it the outcome cycle. If you do a specific activity, what is the end result? Do you get better? Do you get worse? And we scored it. So we had a score for every single patient. Thousands of patients. We scored them. And then we talked about them. We had 20 clinicians all talking about this. Medical doctors, chiropractors, physical therapists. And we say, when the patient does this, what exercise do we need? What has to happen when the patient has this type of problem? And then we would talk about it. And we would do it on the patients. Okay? We would standardize this process. The goal was to identify, for these motion patterns, what do they need? And we found that they need 4 very specific things. Okay? It's 4 phases. The first phase is to decrease the pain. How do you decrease the pain? Well, we know it's abnormal movement patterns. We talked about that. So there are very specific movement patterns that are going to make you better, make you worse. This is what we call the daily routine. This is phase number 1, is the daily routine, is to avoid the activities that make you worse. And what that does is it allows for everything to calm down and your pain starts to go away and you slowly decrease the inflammatory process. And then what we found is if you're going to avoid those activities, they're going to make you worse. Then what we have to do is strengthen very specific muscles to make sure you have the support. It's the stabilization. So we stabilize the spine and we build endurance. That's phase 2. So the first phase is really to decrease the activities that are making you worse. Decrease the activities that are making that disc bigger. That is the daily routine. Major, major, major breakthrough. This has allowed us to eliminate the need for 98% of all spinal surgeries. This is where you have hope. There's hope for everybody. You do not need to live with this back problem. So it's the decreasing the daily activities and the movement patterns and adding healthy movement patterns and eliminating the abnormal movement patterns. Avoid the patterns that make it worse. Avoid the patterns that cause the breakdown of the disc, and then we build the endurance of the muscles to support it so you don't fatigue and go into the breakdown mode. That's phase number 2, is to create stability and create endurance in the muscles necessary for your movement patterns. This is the 10X program. It's a 4-phase program. The third phase is restore motion. If you're not using the right muscles and you're not using the hip muscles and you're using the spine instead of the hip, you're going to get the breakdown. It's the most common thing we see every single day. Poorly activated hips, all the activities in the spine. You don't want the activities in the spine because when you have the activities in the spine, that's when you get the aggravation to the disc. The goal is to avoid that. This is what we discovered. So you activate the motion and then you add strength to the major drivers, to the glutes, to the shoulders, to the quads, all the muscles that are major drivers. After you've maintained the endurance and the stability and you've restored motion, then you restore the strength. This is how we get patients, professional athletes, back to setting world records. By restoring the function, the motion, and then going for the strength. There is no other way. This is what we do. This is the 10X program. There is a way out. The daily routine is phase 1. There are 4 phases. And the key is strength and stability and endurance so you don't have future breakdown. That's what we do. We've seen these discs. They get better. We've done MRIs, thousands. Yeah, I told you, we did 5,000 MRIs where we analyzed the motion of the vertebrae and made this discovery. The discs do get better. Even the most advanced disc problems get better. Major herniations, bulges, and degenerations. You can live pain-free and you can do the things that you want to do. We've seen it time and time again. This is the 10X program. This is what we do. It's educational videos for you. It's about how to determine your bias, your motion patterns, and what exercises are best for you. 95 to 98% of all spinal surgeries are not necessary. We have the ability. We've done the studies. They're published. And Pubmedgov is the government database for scientific literature published in medical journals with peer reviewed. It's the purest source of science and data that you can get. It's not Google. It's called Pubmed.gov. It's scientific literature, scientific research, archived with the National Library of Medicine, but also seen on many different TV shows. Why? Because it solves problems. Did the second study. We compared our treatment to physical therapy. 10 times better. Why were we 10 times better? Because we addressed the movement patterns that were dysfunctional for your problem. It's very specific for you. It's not one size fits all. One size fits all makes everybody worse. Or it helps 20% of the people, 30% of the people, but the other 70% really are no better and some are worse. Same with surgery. 30% get better, 30% don't get better, 30% get worse. The odds aren't very good. Second study, we did a patient that had failed back surgery syndrome. She had a fusion in her spine. She got worse. The short version of the story is she got worse. And her pain was so bad, she tried to kill herself. She didn't. She wasn't successful, thank God. But the pain was so bad that she couldn't take it. She was depressed. But she got better with our program. She got better. It works for even the most severe back problem. It's very effective. Very, very effective. For study 1,200 patients that needed surgery, they got better. Eliminated the need for surgery, got off the opioids, and they were better. And these are people that had suffered for 7 years with back pain, minimum. 26% of them were scheduled, they'd already had surgery. 312 of the 1,200 had surgery, didn't get better, got better with our program. We did a 5-year follow-up. And what we found is, even 5 years later, you're out of pain. It works. Why does it work? Because we address the issue with the motion patterns and the disc. There's no other reason. And the only reason we do this, and we've discovered this, is because of my back. I suffered. Found a way out. We identified what works, what doesn't. And then we proved it with science. It is the most scientific back pain program on the planet, period. It works. You don't have to live with it. There is a way out. There's a link on the video, but also if you want to sign up, it's $47 a month. And what it is it's a breakdown week by week, what you need to do, how you identify the pattern, how you eliminate the pattern, and how you get your life back. It's effective. It's the most scientific program on the planet Earth. It works. I know because I lived it. I had dinner one time with a neurosurgeon. He said to me, "You're lucky." I said, "Why am I lucky?" He said, "You're lucky because you've had this pain." He says, "I do surgery every single day and I've never had any back pain my entire life. I thought it was a curse. I thought my back pain was a curse. I found a way out. There's a way out for you too. It's called 10X. Your life will be 10X better. You'll have more freedom. You'll have more life. You'll have less pain. You'll have less sort of worry, more energy, certainly less depression. I know. The 10X program. Okay? Click the link. There's a link here, there, somewhere there's going to be a link. Okay? We can help you. It's very effective. Somehow, if you're not satisfied, you can get your money back. But you know what? If you really have a lot of problems, you can send me emails, and for that matter, you can call me on the phone. Okay? We have a program where when you're stuck, you can call me. Okay? The calling me is not part of the 47, but it is a solution. And if it's really bad, you can come into the clinics. We have a way out. You don't need to live with it. It's very effective. 10X. It's going to help you. That's it. Be good. Be careful. Sign up. Live your life again. It works. I know it works because I did it. We do it every single day.